Mason Francis Skiles, 45 years old.
10 years ago, he was deputy chief of mission here, until his wife was killed.
He's damaged goods, but he's manageable.
Well, it may have taken a while, but Beirut is definitely a movie worth bringing to the screen, and I'm glad they did. Movies take a long time to get made in some cases, but this one a particularly long time. It comes from a script that Tony Gilroy wrote in 1991, and it has been sitting gathering dust ever since then, until it was rescued a couple of years ago after the success of Argo, really, I think, in part. Tony Gilroy, who wrote it, went on to direct the Oscar-nominated and winning Michael Clayton and write all the Jason Bourne movies in the meantime. But this film definitely has the touch of a Class A screenwriter, no matter when it was written. And now it's been brought to the screen by director Brad Anderson with a reworked script by Tony Gilroy to fit into these times for contemporary audiences. It's set in war-torn Beirut.
$6,500 in a first-class ticket.
I wouldn't go back to Beirut if it was the last place on Earth.
Flight leaves Logan at 8:45 tonight.
Well, it sounds like you got about 6 hours to find somebody else.
I was told that's not an option.
As the film begins of 1972, where a diplomat by the name of Mason Skiles is based. He's played by Jon Hamm, and he's married to Nadia, and they have a wonderful life there in Beirut. He's a very talented U.S. diplomat. They have no kids, but they're very close to a 13-year-old orphaned refugee by the name of Kareem. He's almost like a adopted child of their own in some ways. At any rate, it turns out Kareem, though, has an older brother who's a notorious Palestinian terrorist, thought to have been involved in the 1972 Munich Olympic Games massacre of Israeli athletes. Well, it turns out the Israeli Mossad is anxious to get a hold of Kareem, obviously to lead to his brother, but the brother is well aware of that and is also trying to get to the kid. This all comes to a head at a very fancy party near the beginning of the film when the brother breaks in and gunfire erupts. Collateral damage is Mason Skiles' wife, who is killed there. This obviously sours him on this whole time that he spent in Beirut. Cut 10 years later to 1982, and Skiles is living in Boston. He is a labor negotiator now. He drinks a lot, spends a lot of time at the local bars. When he's approached to go back to Beirut for reasons he doesn't know, he definitely says no. He's lured there under false pretenses, and once he gets there, he comes under the purview of a cultural attaché played by Rosamund Pike. Now, she brings the real reason here as he meets with officials there who need him to go into action once again as the ultimate diplomat that he once was and negotiate a hostage crisis, because the kidnapper turns out to be none other than a grown-up Kareem who's been radicalized as a terrorist himself.
3 nights ago, an American was pulled off the street in West Beirut. Next morning, we got a communique from a group calling itself the Militia of Islamic Liberation. They have the guy they want to talk. They want you to broker the deal.
They asked for you specifically.
In the best sense of them, full of excitement along the way, intrigue, exotic locales. Now, it wasn't shot in Beirut, but it was matched there in Tangiers in Morocco, and really has the feel of Lebanon at that time. Anyway, Jon Hamm is sensational in this role. I think it is the best screen work he's done. Of course, he won Emmys and Golden Globes and lots of acclaim on the small screen for Mad Men, but now on the big screen, he's really found his mojo factor here as this character and really digs deep into it. He's just terrific in this film. So is Rosamund Pike, who I think matches him throughout much of the movie here, and the two of them have a unique chemistry, I think, that moves this film along. It also has some great subplots running through it. Gilroy really knows this area. Even though this is a fictional story, it feels true, it feels real, it feels authentic. It also feels like an old-fashioned kind of film that Hollywood really doesn't make anymore. You might go back to a movie like Mel Gibson's The Year of Living Dangerously, from the year this is set, actually, 1982. Or I would say Hamm's character reminds me of the kind of role that a William Holden might have played in his prime, or Paul Newman, even Gene Hackman. It's a great movie star role and a great role for an actor, and Hamm proves he's a first-rate movie star here, but it really is a movie for smart-thinking adults. This is one you don't want to miss. I really was entertained by Beirut. It's a real page-turner if it was a book, but it's not. It's a great original screenplay from Tony Gilroy with terrific direction by Brad Anderson here. They've all combined with Jon Hamm and Rosamund Pike to make a winner. I say, go.